Good evening. Welcome to another session of the Sea of Glass. What we're trying to do here is trying to explain the sons of Jacob. It's so important. If you don't understand the son of Jacob, you can't understand the Bible. That's why I'm really working on the son of Jacob and try to understand what happened. What is the understanding of the son of Jacob? It's not a history story. This has nothing to do with history. This is mankind and what happened to the human race and how they got intelligent. This is how the saying. You see, the Lord gives you the 12 sons of Jacob: faith, understanding, love, and dialogue. The speech maker, and He gives you God and country, and then He gives you business and money. The money. See, these are all feelings inside of us. The great power of these feelings inside of us, and then every time that one comes up, like let's say Reuben comes up, that's fate. So you got to understand what happened to fate. Why did Judas stay in the land of why did Simeon was strapped in prison when Joseph wanted to bring his younger brother there? You got to understand all these things. This is part of what happened to the world. The world is in the understanding of that, and the great power of this, that one day all the psychiatrists and all the things of feeling that's inside of us will come out of the 12 sons of Jacob, because nobody never understood them. It's like they were sealed by the understanding of the seventh seal. They were so powerful from the first 5 books to the understanding of these first 5 books. They were all sealed, and nobody could understand them. It was like that for thousands of years, until it comes to this day where we are going to the 7th day, the day of the creation that the Lord rested. The 7 days of the creation. And you got to come to understand now, 1,000 years is a day in the creation in the Bible. So you got to come to understand that we are beginning of the 7,000 years. And you have to come, these things has to be revealed. Has to be revealed. Someone has got to come with the revelation of these understanding. So you got to come to understand that the sons of Jacob is what it's all about. That's the whole Bible. The whole Bible is based on. It's not the New Testament. It's not, anything about the prophet. This is what happened in the first 5 books of the Old Testament. And that's what you got to learn to understand. If you don't understand the book of Genesis, you won't be able to understand the book of Leviticus and the book of Exodus and the other books of the first 5 books of the Old Testament. You have to come to understand that these understanding and the sons of Jacob is what's inside your heart, and the understanding of the power that teaches man to have intelligence. We're just animals. You got to understand that we're an animal. And in order for us to come to the kingdom of God, you got to understand what it's all about. And the sons of Jacob is the most powerful thing that you can ever understand. And it's the most refreshing thing that you can ever understand, because it tells you exactly how the human being works. You work with faith. You work with understanding. You work with love. You work with dialogue. You work with God. You have to believe in God. You have to be a slave to it, and country and God, Italy, and then you got to understand that all these things are within you. And you got to come to, so we got to read about Joseph tonight. Joseph's dream. And you got to understand that we are dreamers born. And Joseph here is the angel of technology that will come to have all his brother bow down before him. Go ahead.
Okay, as Roger said, we're in the book of Genesis, which is kind of the beginning, close to the beginning of the Bible. Genesis chapter 37, Joseph's dreams. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel, which was Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made a richly ornamented robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him.
Okay, we got to come to understand here. Jacob is ambition. Gives birth to his 10th son. That comes from Rachel now, the woman that Jacob loved the most. So you got to understand that this is what the Bible do, you know. Jacob becomes the Bible here, the whole Bible. And here you have Joseph, the angel of technology, the angel of the dreamer, the great power of what this world was created with. You know, everything is based on the understanding, because you got to remember that Jacob is ambition, but he's also the Bible. The Bible is ambition. It's how you want to learn the Bible. So you got to go to the sons of Jacob. You got to understand the power of Jacob here. You got to understand that this is just a name that lived in the history of the Bible. It's not a real person. This is a spiritual inside of us that we live by. And you got to come to understand that the father of the son is what teaches these sons to be what they are. They are the father. The father is the first seed, and then the sons are the seed that comes from him. And Joseph has to come from Rachel, the woman that Jacob loved the more. In other words, the great power of what you love, you know, the great glory of what mankind is going to love in the future. So you got to come to understand that the dreamer, the angel of technology, the angel of the dream, the angel of the interpretation of the scriptures. He had two sons, and those two sons, Mesilas and Ephraim. And you got to come to understand all these sons. You got to come to understand that inside of you, this is the way it works. It's not the way that people, psychiatrists, claim it. This is the way it works. This is the way all your spirit works. And if you go to church and they don't teach you this stuff because they don't have no idea that it's in there. So they read the story. It's a beautiful story. And then Jacob and Joseph became the ruler of Egypt next to the. But you got to understand that this is the way it is inside your heart. How are you going to make the ruler? How are you going to make the rule for yourself? If you want to get this rule from the king of Egypt, if you want to get this rule from God the Almighty, you have to open your heart to the understanding of the dream of the dreamer. Go ahead, Rito.
Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said.
Okay, you got to come to understand the dreamer now. The dreamer is the one that sees things different than most people. The dreamer is the power inside of a human being to understand scriptures, to understand the power, to be able to understand technology, to be able to understand geometry, to be able. You see, this is what people are jealous of. If they see somebody does better than you, they're jealous of him, and they try to hurt him because they can't understand the power. See, this is what the world would become. You know, the people that push is plowed, and as a farmer, is kind of jealous of the one that has a job with a three-piece suit and everything, because the power of this man has more power in his spiritual understanding than the other guys do. And that's why the jealousy of the heart comes here. You got to come to understand that if you understand the Bible, people will hate you for that. They will not love you for that. They cannot love you because they can't understand it. And that's the power of it, that the dreamer that takes his information from the Almighty God, he does, and God does not give his information to everybody around him, so they're going to be jealous of this person because this person sees things the way they are. And this brother here think he's a martyr above them, and they think that you got to bow down to him. That's not what he said. He told them the dream that he had, and these people will have to bow down to him one day. And that's what happened to the world. That the world has to bow down to the people that has great intelligence, the people that the great power of the great architect, the great power of, everybody that has the power to dream inside of themselves. See, most people in this world don't know nothing more than what they believe in above their nose. They don't know nothing else because they don't try, and they don't really because they don't have it. But a man like Joseph comes, and he's different, and he understands different. You see, all these other brothers, faith and understanding and dialogue and love and all that, they're just people that understand the way everybody else understands. But the dreamer understands it in the higher knowledge. Go ahead, Rito.
Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. You
got to understand here, the sun and the moon, the Old Testament and New Testament. The dreamer will be able to understand it. Will be able to understand it. And he will be able to bring the revelation of it. Everything that was hidden in this book has to come alive now. We're in the 21st century, the seventh day of the Lord. The seventh day that the Lord is taken. You have to. We're going to be into a war of spiritual understanding, and we're going to have what happens over here. And next thing, the next show I'm going to have is on the famine of the world, how this world became to be the way it is. You're going to come to understand that everything that we have learned is the understanding of our spiritual value, and we're coming to this day. Now, Joseph here is wiser than his brother because he listened to the dream of the Lord that's inside of him. If you listen to the Lord that's inside of you, you can understand all these scriptures. You can understand the power of these scriptures. And these people are jealous because they don't want to have to bow down to you. They don't think that you're better than them. But the thing is, if you want to learn something, you got to listen to the wise. You got to listen to the people that has the power to understand. But they don't want to hear that because they're jealous of the one that understands. It's always been, always will be. If a man comes with good ideas and he processes in time and make a fortune out of it, everybody's jealous of him. But the thing is, this is the way it works in this world. This is the way the world works. This is the way the old power, because this is not a story now. This is the understanding of your spirit. This is Jacob, the Bible itself inside of you. And once you understand the 12th son of Jacob, which is the great power of the Greek power of yourself, then you begin to understand how these things work. How do you understand? You want to learn the Bible? You have to submit to the Lord and tell the Lord, I don't know the Bible. I don't understand nothing. If you're a preacher somewhere, if you want to learn the Bible, you got to learn to understand that this stuff comes from God. It doesn't come from mankind. It's not part of that. The Lord is the glory of intelligence. He's the truth. And if you listen to the truth, you will come to have the truth inside of you in the matter of speaking, in the matter of understanding, in the matter of faith, in the matter of all the other 11 sons of Jacob. And they will bow down to you to understand from you. See, this is what it's all about. If you want to have strong faith, you got to have the truth. You got to have the power to reason. And the truth comes from God. It's proving that it's not come from man, because you look at all these preachers all over the world, they haven't got a clue of what's written in this book. They haven't got a clue of anything that makes sense. But they try to preach according to the mind of man, and they're not successful with it. And you can see the world falling apart in Christianity, in the Catholic Church, and everything else, because they have no more speech. They have no more understanding of it. They do not understand what God. And the Father here didn't even see his Son to be in the wisdom of the wise. This is the power here, that even ambition cannot understand what the power of Joseph had on the great power. Okay, Rita, read some more.
Joseph sold by his brothers. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them." "Very well," he replied. So he said to him, "Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron.
Okay, let's see the understanding. You see, Joseph is going to help his brother and to bring food to them, and the understanding. But his brothers are already jealous. And that's what it's all about. Everybody thinks in the way of the world, and everybody don't really understand the real wisdom of the wise. So they're so jealous of him, they're ready to kill him. Go ahead.
When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here," the man answered. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him.
Okay, now, you got to be very, very careful to understand that here. They plotted to kill him. Everybody that don't understand always try to kill someone that has the Spirit of the Lord inside of them. When a person has the Spirit of the Lord inside of them, you know, all the other people don't have it. And when they don't have it, they don't understand what this guy is trying to tell you. They don't understand the dreamer. They don't understand the great mind of the power that comes from the great Spirit. You know, they don't understand the feeding of the Spirit to the mind. They don't understand the glory of intelligence because they don't have it. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And if you don't have it, you can't get it just by being jealous of those that has it and not listening to them. You got to come to understand the power. That Joseph told them the truth. You know, you will bow in front of me, and bow in front of me you will, because the power of a human being is in his dream, and the power of understanding is in that dream. And when you understand things that other people at that time, Joseph did not really understand his dream as such, but he understood that these 11 sons of Jacob will bow down in front of him one day, all of them. Because all the faith in the world cannot understand what Joseph, all the wisdom did not understand the dreamer. All the understanding of love did not understand the dream. All the understanding of Jacob, of Judas, you know, all the speech making that we have does not understand the great power of the dreamer. And you got to come to understand that we are affiliated with God, and you're affiliated with government. So the two brothers there, Natalie and Dan, are both together as son from the slave girl, and we are both slave to government and God. We can't escape that. You got to understand. But these people did not understand Jesus, because the dreamer is only in the understanding of the one that worshiped the Lord the best. Okay, and then where are you now?
Right here.
Okay, read some more.
Here comes that dreamer, they said to each other. Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Let's not take his life, he said. Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the desert, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father.
Okay, now you have faith here. Very innocent to have faith. Faith was the brother of Joseph, older brother, firstborn. Yeah, you know, Reuben, you're my firstborn. Faith, this is why we start intelligent, with faith. Now, faith said to his brother, we cannot kill him. He's innocent of what he is. So faith protected him, but they still throw him into a citadel. And the understanding of that is that they were going to hurt him one way or another. So go ahead, read some more.
So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the richly ornamented robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt.
Okay, they got to come and stay here. Then they took his robe. The robe of a person now, in spiritual understanding, is not the robe that you wear in flesh. They took off his understanding and threw it into the citadel, where there was nothing there. There was no water there. There was no reality there. That water means reality. So if there's no water, there's no reality there. And then they saw this caravan that was going to Egypt with all the good things. And they said, let's sell them to them, and they can sell them as a slave in the land of Egypt. You see, this is what happened to jealousy. Jealousy makes big mistake. It's always been the greatest mistake in life is jealousy. People are jealous of one another, and they say a mean, evil thing against one another because of their jealousy. So you got to understand that jealousy is part of an evil spirit that's inside of it. Now, they say the Lord can be jealous, you know, and the understanding. There's a certain part of jealousy that is decently all right. But there's a part of jealousy, if you hurt somebody, if you have an intention of hurting somebody, it becomes an evil power inside yourself. And next thing you know, it turns into hate, and hate turns into, you know, bloodshed, and goes on and on and on. Well, this is what happened to the dreamer. They sold it in the land of Egypt to a caravan of Islamites. And through that, the great power of the Spirit was broken between brothers here. And we're going to see as we go along the understanding of it. Go ahead.
Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed.
Okay, now understand Judas here. Judas is the speech maker, the dialoguer inside of us. Okay, let me make sense with nothing. You see, this meant that the rest of the world, for all times to come, was the great people that makes, you know, they used to hung people for no reason because they thought he did it. They thought that he was evil. They thought, you see, this is what the people of the mind see. They don't see the Spirit, so they have no knowledge of the Spirit, and they can't understand what is the great power of that. I was reading today about, all these migrant people that come from South America, and everybody that I talk to, I don't think that I find a person yet in the whole valley of Bristol and Connecticut and all that they all agree with each other that these people don't belong here. We don't want them here. Let them starve to death. Let them, you see, this is the way it is. Because forever on, they had the black man in slavery. And they had a big civil war. And everybody got about 100,000 people got their leg or their arm cut off, and they were blind, and they were, in the Civil War. And people never learned that the black had spirit, and they were supposed to be human beings. And they treated them like animal, like the worst that you can treat an animal, because they were black. And then they did that with the Indians. And the people said, well, no, we didn't do that back then. I mean, we were not part of that. Yes, you were. Now you're part of the people that comes over here to eat. We fill our stomach with all the food that we can. We fill our butt with everything. And then we look them across the border and say, no, we don't want them. Let them starve. You see, the human heart has always been where the understanding of the human heart has always been self-salvation. And that's against all the rule of God. You want to save your butt and become a better person and don't have those poor people over here? Well, you're going to lose at the end. You're going to lose. We had World War I, World War II. We had the Vietnamese War that people get all messed up and everything else. But we never learned.
The Holocaust.
The Holocaust of the Jew and everything. We never learned. And then we say to ourselves, those are the people that did that, not us. If you are part of this system and you think that these people should starve to death in Mexico right now, well, you're part of it. Whatever you believe for them is going to come upon you. That's why this world is in such a starvation of spiritual understanding, because none of these people seem to understand the values of others. It's always been the poor against the rich, and the rich are destroying the poor. And the thing is, everybody agrees with it. See, that's the part of it. I can't find a single person that tell me that they should let these people across the border. I can't find none, because they think that these people would invade them, and they say all the meanest thing. They're all criminals, and they come here to hurt us, and they're going to commit crime against us, and they're going to do everything. So what? You got to understand that it's in your heart. You have the power to destroy them or to let them there. And then you listen to the president that's all against them, and you say, well, he's doing a good job. That's it. You see, the great power of a human being is to have an understanding of brotherhood. And if you don't have an understanding of brotherhood inside your heart, then you can't see the dream of the Father. You can't understand the great power of the Father. So you try to destroy the people that tells you to let him in, like the great power. Don't build a fence and bring a bridge over. Try to destroy the power that these people are human like us, and they are our brothers, and they come a long way to find food, a job, a place to send their kids to school, a place of freedom that they don't have in their country. Now, what happens? You might as well be part of the cartel over there that tells them to destroy them. Why don't you join those cartel people and get a gun and shoot every one of them? Because you don't understand that these are your brothers. If you're going to live in Connecticut and think that you have the right to destroy these people with your tongue, then you will be part of, the loss of this law. Go ahead, read that, Rita.
So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy isn't there." Where can I turn now? Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered the goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. They took the ornamented robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe."
You see, this is a beautiful understanding of the scriptures here. You got to understand, they took his robe, they put it in the blood of an animal. You see, what people believe now, the blood of the animal now, your robe is what you understand, what you believe, what you are, is the one that covers you in knowledge. This is a spiritual book. It's not a book about the flesh. It's a book about spiritual understanding. So you got to come to understand that the beautiful robe, the understanding of the beautiful robe is how you understand things. And if you don't wear that robe, then you haven't got nothing to wear. You're naked in the world. See, what happened is they dipped his robe in the blood of an animal. And his father believed that he was dead. If his father believed that he got eaten by a wild animal, a bear or lions or anything else, and that's it, he didn't survive. And his father went to grief and the great power of these people. This is the way we treat our brothers. This is the way that the world has been treating their brothers for thousands of years. And you can look at all the systems that was cruel to those in need. And there's been the cruelty of the human heart for 4,000 years or 6,000 years, where the human being does not feel for the other one. And that's why we destroy the poor. We destroy their way of living. Back in the days of the black, after they got out of slavery, it took them almost 300 years to get out of slavery. And then they were still in slavery by the heart of the South and the people that believed that they should not work, they should not make any money, and they were very jealous of them. You see, that's what happened. You sell people into slavery with your own heart. And you don't realize it. But your heart is the one that decides what happened to these people. If there was more people that speak against the stupidity, the ignorance, that the heart is so cruel, then maybe we wouldn't be so bad. But no, there's very few people that even think that these people have the right to be here. That even think that these people, this country does not belong to people that were born here. They were not, it's not part of the people that came here with papers. It's part of the understanding these people came here to find a better life. And to most people, they find a better life. They have a better life than in Europe, in all these countries. Because, in Europe, it was terrible when the people were all crossing to come over here. Over here, they find land. They find a place to live. They find school to educate their children and everything else. And at the end of this, these same people that grew up after they were blessed to be here are the same people that are trying to destroy those that wants to come here like their parents was. And they were praying for it. You tell me that these people's prayer in Mexico, North Mexico right now, is worthless. And your prayer should be valid. No, that's not the way it works. It works that if your prayer, and you want to live in this world, and you have no idea why these people are here, they're here to test you. They don't here to become a better person, a better life. They're here to test your feelings. And if you go down to the understanding that a human being has the right to judge other because he has a better life than the other people, it doesn't belong. It belongs to the people that are looking for a better life. That's what this country is all about. That's what God made this country for. That we could live one day in peace with each other. And we could live one day in the glory of wealth, in the glory of good education, in the glories of living well, in this glory that God has given you. And you have to let the other people. They're not going to come here as millionaires. They're going to come here as poor people to do the dirty job to be getting here like the rest of us did. You know, and this is what it's all about. Accept those that the world does not accept, and then you'll come to it. But you look all over the world now. There's all kinds of refugees all over the world that don't have anywhere to go, and nobody wants them. Because the human heart is so corrupt to understand that you don't want nobody to be part of the land of milk and honey and the great power of the great glory of intelligence. You see, when God made this country, He made it for a purpose, to help those that were in need. And He sent them over here. God took these people from Indula or all these countries and brought him to our border to open the door for us, for them, so they can have decent life. And the people said, no, we don't want them to have a decent life. No, we don't want them to be better than anybody else, because they do not understand the scriptures and what is the scriptures all about. They only understand them as how to save their butt. I mean, I'm a good Christian. I go to church all the time. I'm going to go to heaven, and that's it. Be careful. Be careful, little man, because you may think that you're on the way to heaven, and you are on the way to hell. You're going to be, and I'm not sending you to the hell that the Christians believe about. I'm sending you to the hell of no knowledge. That's the real hell. That's not... You'll be burned with lies and be burned with stupidity, life after life on earth. You'll never be able to go up into the world and be a better person. You see, this is the way it goes. Be careful and try to understand that in your heart you have the power to resist. You have the power to receive. You have the power to glory a human understanding of what it was to be. God is the truth, and the truth is God. And you've got to come to understand that that truth is not always on your side. Go ahead, Rita.
Okay, just want to repeat the last sentence so we can get into it. They took the ornamented robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." Jacob recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his own clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "in mourning will I go down to the grave to my son." So his father wept for him.
Okay, now you got to come to understand the power here. That Jacob believed that my son had been torn to pieces by the wild animal. Who are the wild animal now? Who are the wild animal that torn to pieces? His brothers. You see what I mean? Everybody thinks that if these people come here and live in this country, they got to take their land from them. They got to take their stuff, and they got to. You know, a few years ago, I went to the Rockwell Park in Bristol, and I had my granddaughter there, and there was a bunch of people from the Hispanic side, and they took a lot of the table and everything. And this guy comes up to me and says, "These people are taking all their. They were here first. You claim to be here first." So you think that you should have a better life than them. But the thing is, they came to get the table first. So they deserve what they get, and you deserve what you get. You see, the great power of the Lord is to be just and fair with everybody. See, those are the three angels of love now. I keep on mentioning that justice is the first son of love. Fairness is the second most powerful son of love. And then unity is the third son of love. Now you have a whole bunch of people in this country that say, we love our brothers, and then they deny those in need. You see, the power is something else. You don't have to give charity money to people. You don't have to take somebody in your house. That's a lot of baloney. You don't have to do all these things and go serve all the... But you have to have in your heart the dignity of justice, that these people are equal to us. And you have to say it in justice, in fairness, and in unity. You see, there's people that goes around serving all the poor people and the sick people and all this. That's worthless. That's worthless. It's what you feel in your heart towards other that makes you the person that you are. You see, what happened is that you destroyed the very sensible power of love, which is justice, fairness. You have to use justice on these people. Is it just that these people have the right to live here with us or not? Is it fairness that you are living in a situation where you have plenty of food, plenty of house, you have a nice stove in your house, you have nice beds, your kids are going to good school and all that, and these people didn't have the right to that. So you try to. If there was more people on the side of truth, instead of being on the side of evil, then these people could probably fit into us here. And in a couple of generations, they would be just part of us. But what is the understanding? You know, you say, oh, well, we can't take all the people from all over the world here. You know, that's up to the Lord to decide, not up to you, not up to you. If these people are brought here by the Spirit that's inside of them, that's the Spirit of the Lord. They have to go for a better life and a better way of understanding. Now, I'm not going to be popular for making this understanding, you know, visible to everybody, but it's not being populated and having everybody pat me in the back, but it's the truth. The truth is justice, fairness, and unity. It's not the ideas of the majority of people. It doesn't belong to them. But it looks like everybody don't want to rock the ship, and they don't want to take their ideas and be crushed by their neighbors because they feel that these people has as much right as we do. They're born into this world. This world does not belong. The world belongs to those that occupy it. And that's the way it is. If you occupy this country, you are part of this country. But you have to be in the understanding that you cannot kill people and bust our laws and do all kinds of stuff. But if you do obey the law, work hard, and make this country a dream world for you, then you own this as well as anybody else. Okay, go ahead, Rito. Okay,
we finished that chapter. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard.
Yeah. Okay, now we're coming to the understanding that Joseph is sold into slavery in the understanding of the great power of reason. Glory is what the glory is. It's to be able to be what we are, and what we are is to profound justice and profound the great power of be fair to others. Be fair to other people. Don't look at other people like they would be a burden on your life if they would be around you. If you think that people would be a burden on your life, you're just as big of a burden on them as you can ever imagine. You know, what you're trying to do in this world is to love your God with all your soul and with all that you are. You did all of that?
Yes.
Okay, now we can, okay, let me see if we can, okay, do this one here so we know, and then we'll do the other one.
Okay, now we're moving on to chapter...
how much? 10 minutes? Okay, we'll do this here, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
We got 10 minutes.
Chapter 39, Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him access in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned.
Okay, now let me talk about this here. Don't go too far. You know, you got to understand that he was sold into in slavery in the land of Egypt. Land of Egypt was the land of wealth in the time, and it's also mean that it's the land of religion that we have now. You know, the Christian, the Catholic, the Muslim. These are all the land of Egypt. People believe in religion. For thousands and thousands of years, the world believed in all kinds of phony religion, all kinds of different faith. You have the people of faith that comes in Christianity, Catholic, Mormon, and all kinds of Christian faith. And then you have the Islamic, you know, the people from the Middle East that believe in their Islam and everything else. And that's the land of Egypt. You're going to another land and try to understand that you are going to be saved if you believe in these religions. They all tell you that you should go and pray according to these religions, the prayer that these religion gives you, but the Lord tells you don't practice them. Make sure that you only practice the religion of Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And what did these people believe? They only believe in the Lord. They make a covenant with God. You make a covenant with God that you're going to believe only in what makes sense in the truth. That's a covenant that you have to make with the Lord. If you want to read the Bible and understand what the Bible is telling you, you have to make this commitment with the Lord. You cannot believe religion that does not teach the truth. You cannot believe in a religion outside the truth. You cannot believe something that somebody tells you that he is inside of you as a person, you know, that tells you what the scriptures mean. I don't tell you what the scriptures mean here. I'm trying to tell you how to understand the scriptures, how to take all the verbs of the scriptures, all the nouns that's there, like Reuben, and you make a verb out of it. And it becomes, you know, your faith. Faith becomes a verb, and understanding of the faith. Same thing with Simeon. It's a noun. It becomes a verb when you become understanding. I understand, you understand. It's a verb. And then you got to understand that love is a word. It's a verb, but it comes from Levi, the nouns. You have to translate the nouns into verb so you can come to understand the scriptures in the spiritual matter. If you leave that as nouns and people are named by name, and then you say, well, that was a long time ago, then you don't understand the scriptures. The scriptures you have to change into verb, the understanding of the noun. So whatever is written in the scriptures, when they say water, water is an object. It's a chemical. And if you say water, but if you say reality, you turn it into reality, then it becomes the power of a verb. You know, reality. Terms are turned into reality. See, this is what it's all about. It's to be able to translate the scriptures of the word of the scriptures that makes no sense in the Bible and make sense out of them, and then you can hear the voice of God. But you can't hear the voice of God unless you make this covenant with the Lord. And you have to say to the Lord, and that's what I said to the Lord, because I'm saying to the Lord every day of my life, because I have to fight in this world like everybody else, because there's all kinds of different things that people tell me, oh my God, that's it. I have to fight. That's not true. This is not true. That's not true. You know, arrogance is the biggest sin. And that's the arrogance of the world is the biggest thing that people practice. Arrogant. Because everybody thinks they're better than the people they don't like. And it's not true. You have to make yourself equal to all those. I can't tell you I'm better than the Catholic. I can't tell you I'm better than the Christian. I can't tell you I'm better than the Muslim. But if I work for myself in the understanding of the great power of the Scriptures, then I'll understand more. Because the glory of intelligence is within me to glorify the intelligence of the intelligent. And God is the truth. You know. Anyway, read another couple of lines on this.
From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So he left in Joseph's care everything he had. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate.
You got to understand here that if you understand the Bible, you're in charge. You're in charge because you make more sense. The more sense you make, the more you'll be in charge of people. You don't realize that you can control all the people around you with your faith, because the truth is part of that, part of being in control of things. If somebody tells you that, oh man, I'm going to go to confession, well, tell them it's not true. They can't forgive your sin like that. That's not true. You see, the thing is, with all the lies that these religions fabricate along the way, it's not part of what is the common sense of intelligence. You know, you see, I was seeing a few years ago when a priest was molesting children, and they brought him to court, and they said, well, you know, they told the bishop, they said, you know, this guy was molesting children. Oh, he said he went to confession. What a big lie. What a big lie. Went to confession, his sins are forgiven. His sins were not forgiven because it's not true. You see, you got to understand that the reality of truth and what is the truth is the concern between the connection that makes sense and the connection that doesn't make sense. You got to come to understand that the power of the connection of truth and the connection of lies is not the same. It's not what it is if it's not what it is. You know, see what happened to people. Oh, I bless this piece of bread here. Oh, the priest did it. It's going to be holy. It's not true. It's just a false magician telling you of a story that he has to make the bread vulnerable to those that believes it. But it's not true. If a person believes it, he breaks his covenant with the Lord. Any time that you break the truth, you break your covenant with the Lord. And that if you break your covenant with the Lord, what you're doing is breaking the oath of your life. You're breaking the oath of your life. What happened to that? Then you're not vulnerable to be in the truth. You're not vulnerable to be part of the assembly of God. You're not part of it, you know, because you don't understand the purpose of that truth that makes sense for you. God, who is what he is. And he makes the power of understanding to the power of understanding. You know. Anyway, read another line.
Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice.
Okay, hold on. About 2 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me."
Okay, come to bed with me. You know, everybody wants you because what you teach is good. And everybody wants to come and bring you to their religion. Come to bed with me. Adultery is not the adultery of the flesh, because if it was, I mean, the whole world would be lost. you know, the adultery that made man, they took the wrong person, the wrong purpose, and they made sex adultery. But the real adultery is to take a person and sleep with something that's not true inside your soul because somebody else tells you that. That's the real adultery. If you sleep with the notion that someone in this world has told you something and you have to believe it, that's adultery. That's why the Catholic Church is the greatest prostitute of all, because they tell you something that's not true and you have to believe it in order to be part of the church. Okay, we have one more minute, and I want to tell you that it's so powerful inside of you when you hold, you know, your covenant with the Lord, and stick to your heart at all costs, no matter who don't like you, no matter how much you make, how much you are, you hold your covenant with the Lord. That everything that does not make sense to your spirit or make sense to your mind and spirit is not the truth. And what makes sense to you and the reality of the creation is what you should believe. Nothing that comes out of the Bible will have to be believed unless you can understand it in the spiritual power of yourself. You have to come to understand the glory. Now, a lot of people put a lot of stuff in the Bible that doesn't make sense. Now, I think we I'm at the end over here of my show. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope that you'll listen good to it and try to understand the truth. Good night. Good night.